Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. School teachers, principals and educators come in for high praise as the Ministry of Education recognized their role in the SEA examination. The first consultation meeting with stakeholders gets underway for the transitioning of the Borough of Chaguanas to city status. And a speed spot enhancement initiative championed by the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure hopes to issue speeding tickets in the mail to reckless drivers. Thank you for joining us. School teachers and principals are receiving much-deserved commendation from the Minister of Education for their hard work and commitment. The ministry hosted a recognition function based on the results of this year's SEA examination.
The Hyatt Regency Hotel provided an excellent setting to celebrate the tremendous success and commitment of teachers and principals to their noble profession. The gala evening was hosted by the Ministry of Education and was inspired by the terrific results of the students who sat this year's SEA exam.
And tonight, I see that commitment and love. And over the last 4 years, I've been with you. This generation of SEA and primary school teachers, you hold fast to that great legacy of the teachers of long ago. Indeed, when we see the joy of our children, the pride and elation of their parents, we often forget on these days that very significant role of you and you as teachers in making these days for so many to come true. And you had 18,200 plus in 2014.
The event was the first of its kind, and the Honourable Minister acknowledged that an appreciation function of this sort should have been held prior to this year.
You are the unsung heroes of our country, the patriots who dedicated your lives to unwavering service and guidance to our students, and thus to our national development. The dream of our national and individual betterment begins with you, the teacher. That person who believes in the student, the person who tugs and pushes and leads a person to the next plateau, sometimes giving that person a sharp dose of truth to ensure that you fulfill your true potential as a human being.
Minister Gopi Singh noted that the teachers and principals were extremely important to the existence of the ministry. He stated that teachers are the most responsible and important members of society because their professional efforts affect the faith of the nation and future of civilization.
You are the absolute best in the performance of your duties. As a consequence of everything I have highlighted, teacher quality is one of the most important requirements of an improved, efficient, and effective education system. Wherever you go, accessibility, equity, quality are watchwords in education. And this evening, I call on all of you as colleagues to join together with your ministry to continue to work smart, work together for our nation's children and their ultimate progress.
Minister Gopi Singh thanked the ministry's permanent secretary and staff for organizing the function, which gave the minister an opportunity to speak one-on-one with the ministry's stakeholders. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
There are plans to elevate Chaguanas from borough to city status. Now, as these plans gather steam, the government has held its first public consultation titled City Status for Chaguanas.
Many persons believe it is time the borough of Chaguanas now be considered a city. The government is giving citizens the opportunity to air these views as it holds its first public consultation on the issue. The consultation on the transitioning from borough to city status is being hosted by the Ministry of Planning and Sustainable Development in collaboration with the Chaguanas Borough Corporation. A panel including Minister of Planning and Sustainable Development Dr. Botawari, Minister of Tertiary Education Fazal Karim and Transport Minister Stephen Cadiz were on hand to address the issue. Member of Parliament for Shogunas East, the Honourable Stephen Cadiz, says he has seen firsthand the evolution of the borough from when he first began his relationship with the area in 1987 to now. He adds the growth of the area is comparable and has even surpassed, in some cases, other cities in the country.
I look at Shogunas now to see what has happened to Shogunas, and of course, being a member of Parliament for Shogunas East, I actually walk Shogunas East and see for myself what has happened. A bedroom community of 110,000 people. Shogunas just happens to be the largest residential area, at least as far as a borough is concerned, in Trinidad and Tobago. It's bigger than Port of Spain. Port of Spain is no longer a lived-in city. Okay, it's the commercial capital. Okay, fine. But nobody lives in Port of Spain. Very few people live in Port of Spain. San Fernando, well, we beat out San Fernando. Point Fortin, we beat out Point Fortin. We beat out Arima.
Addressing those present at the consultation, Minister of Tertiary Education and Skills Training, Senator the Honourable Fazal Karim, says his ministry has large plans for the hopefully soon-to-be city.
It's about sustainable jobs. It's about growth. It's about the drivers of our economy. It's about the creation of an education city in Shogunas and Central Trinidad. It is not only about concrete buildings. It is about building the brains, unleashing the human potential. It is about from the cane fields to the brain fields.
Minister Cadiz says while the expansion of education, construction and economic investment in Shogunas fuel the call for it to be known as a city, the people of Shogunas, more than anything, deserve to have a city.
All of this, without a doubt, all of this leads to one thing. The time has come for Shogunas to take, and the burgesses of Shogunas to take ownership of Shogunas now and to turn it into Trinidad and Tobago's third city. Shogunas has every right to claim itself as a city and to claim itself as being soon to be a very well-planned city, an organized city. We don't need skyscrapers, we don't need 50-story buildings to declare ourselves a city. It is the people. The people will become the city.
As part of the transition process, the Economic Development Board is promoting collaboration among all stakeholders, political, private sector, community members and NGOs, etc., to plan the economic development agenda for Shogunas based on a broad vision for the area. As the plans become more specific, the EDB, together with all parties working with the EDB, will continue to consult with the public before going forward. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Minister of Health says that his ministry is addressing the shortage of nurses in the country as he made a call for citizens to be aware of the potential spread of the chikungunya virus.
The Ministry of Health is taking the necessary steps to increase the human resources within the health sector. On Thursday, Minister of Health Dr. the Honourable Fuad Khan revealed that nurses would be brought into this country from within the CARICOM region to deal with the shortage that currently exists. Minister Khan said recently nurses were brought in from Grenada and the ministry is in the process of reassessing and once again employing an additional 35 trained nurses from Grenada as a short-term measure.
On July 13 to 17, a team will be going to Grenada from the Ministry of Health to work alongside the Minister of Health of Grenada, Ms. Modest, to determine exactly how many more nurses that we can get in Trinidad and Tobago. This is in keeping with our thrust forward because, as you are quite aware, we're in the process of opening our palliative care wards in Eric Williams, Cora Hospital, and also we are starting a palliative care ward in Eastern Regional Health Authority. There are numerous diagnostic centers being planned. The Chancery Lane Hospital is being opened, and we have always been asked about the human resource capacity, nurses otherwise, for that area. The Arima Hospital is on the card, so too Point Fortin, Cuba Children's Hospital, and the National Oncology Center. We are also in the process of opening our health offices for later hours and for longer hours. In doing so, we all need nurses, doctors, pharmacists, lab technicians, as well as clerks, etc.
The minister said that as the ministry looks to increase its nursing pool, other CARICOM countries such as St. Lucia and Dominica will be considered. Meanwhile, the minister made a call for citizens to take precautionary measures in ensuring that they are not exposed to the chikungunya virus. He said for quite some time the country had managed to stave off the virus, but recently 3 cases emerged.
We have put in place a system together with local government. The Honourable Minister Marlene Coudray and myself about 2 weeks ago had a stakeholder meeting at Normandy where we developed a strategic plan for the chikungunya virus. One, local government with their public health inspectors as well as the cadre of the CEO and the executive met together with the insect vector and Ministry of Health executive, and we brought a policy system in place, a system where strategically the local government as well as Ministry of Health will work through the corporations to look at areas that are susceptible and deal with those areas by, we know, insect spraying, etc., and education, and looking at abandoned lots, etc. My appeal to the population would be very simple. In order for the chikungunya mosquito, the mosquito that carries chikungunya virus, which is the Aedes aegypti, the same mosquito that transmits that of dengue, it's a very simple process of once you destroy the breeding grounds of that mosquito, the mosquito cannot breed, the mosquito has to die after a certain, I think it's 21 days.
The ministry plans to further educate the public about the virus and is calling on the public to be mindful of potential breeding grounds for the Aedes aegypti mosquito. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Drivers will soon begin receiving their speeding tickets in the mail, while the manpower necessary for identifying reckless drivers is lessened. This will require Parliament's approval of a special bill, but in the meantime, the government will undergo a pilot study.
The government is exploring various ways of identifying reckless drivers, which includes the use of the latest technology. Minister of Works and Infrastructure, the Honourable Surajratan Ramachan, spoke on Thursday during the post-cabinet news briefing about a pilot project, which his ministry will soon begin, described as spot speed enforcement along the highways.
As you're aware, we have had or been having a tremendous number of fatal accidents across the country. And the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, in collaboration with the Ministry of Transport, have been making interventions in order to try to reduce the number of lives lost on the highways and also the number of accidents that are occurring, which is an economic loss for the nation in itself.
The minister recognized previous attempts to prevent road fatalities, including the use of cable barriers along the highways. However, all indicators point to the overarching issue of speeding, which the latest initiative would seek to address.
The spot speed enforcement is what is called a non-intrusive method of traffic speed enforcement that is used to detect speeding violations and record through photographs, identifying information about the vehicle. You'll recall also that we have already set up what is called a red light enforcement system. Incidentally, the legislation for this is not in place as yet, but we are continuing to experiment with them, and we have done so now successfully, and we are ready to go pending the legislation on the red light enforcement, one of which is right there by the Wrightson Road lights, just where the Parliament building is now set up. And what happens there with the red light enforcement, I'll get back to the spot speed enforcement. What happens with red light enforcement, vehicles break the red light, and a photograph is taken right now of the number plate. So we have those number plates. And it's tremendous the number of vehicles on a daily basis which are breaking those lights, including, believe it or not, security service vehicles, defense force vehicles, and what have you.
Minister Ramachan gave the technical details of the spot speed enforcement.
With the spot speed enforcement system, a typical system consists of a speed measuring component, an image capture component, and a data processing, storage, and communications component. So in other words, they're going to measure the speed, we're going to capture an image of the vehicle, and then this information will be processed, and the system then will be able to evaluate it, analyze it, and once the legislation is in place, and this is before the Attorney General's office now, violation notices will be issued to the registered owners of vehicles so identified. It's just like in the United States or in England. You break the lights, you're sent a ticket in the mail. Well, similarly now, you are speeding along the highway, you get trapped with the speed enforcement, and you'll be also issued a ticket once the legislation is in place.
The 6-month pilot project will utilize pole-mounted enclosures in the medians located at or near to police surveillance base on the Solomon Hochoy Highway and the Uriah Butler Highway. 5 such locations have already been identified by the ministry. At the end of the pilot study, further evaluation would be done. However, the minister assured that the information gained would be used to warn drivers against driving recklessly, as once their cars are picked up on the camera for speeding, they would be contacted by officials. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Thank you very much, Nikolai. More news after this. Trinidad and Tobago's women volleyballers stumbled at the last hurdle in their bid for a place in the World Championships, which will be contested in Italy later this year. They faced Mexico in the winner-take-it-all final game of the NORSICA qualifiers on Sunday night and just could not get past the North Americans. Wayne Cunningham has the highlights from UE Spec.
The fans turned out in their numbers to support Trinidad and Tobago women volleyballers when they met Mexico on Sunday in the final game of the NORSICA qualifying tournament for the sole place available for the World Championship. And the locals got off to a fine start. Darlene Ramdin with authority. The Mexicans came right back though with an ace by Zoria Orellana. They took the opening set 25-14. This long rally got the second set off to a fine start for TNT. Shannon Thompson with a finish. TNT had to work hard for every point as the opponents refused to let them get too far ahead. The tournament's top seed began to flex their muscles as the set progressed. Claudia Rios doing the damage on this occasion. The locals were also not going away easy. The scoring was going back and forth in this set, with no team getting a chance to pull away. Deuce is the result of the tenacious play. The back-to-back scoring continued for 8 more points until the Mexicans took the advantage for a 31-29 win to take a 2-0 lead. Trinidad and Tobago needed to win the third set to stay in the match, but the North Americans produced another dogged performance. Shannon Thompson was TNT's big scorer with 14 points, but she was eclipsed by Mexico's Lisbeth Sands, who had 16, a performance which clinched the tournament MVP title. In the end, the visitors were just too strong and took the final set 25-17 to seal the straight sets win, which secured them the final spot at the World Championships. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. Now remember, you can view a repeat of our newscast weekdays at 6 a.m. and feel free to visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/RTV4. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.